obviously we have been rocked over the last 8 months by an FBI investigation of some of our top officials. Now, the thing I like to point out is that you have a handful of officials under investigation, or county employees, and there are 9,600 county employees, which means that 99.9% of them are going about their jobs, serving the people of Cuyahoga County without incident, without any hint of impropriety. I think all of us in Cuyahoga County are hoping that there will soon and quickly be a resolution of this, because this is a dark cloud that hangs over our head, kind of the sword of Damocles that we're waiting to fall at any moment. And I think everybody, even those who are under investigation, want this to be expeditiously resolved.
Do you think that Commissioner DeMora should step aside as county commissioner first, and then we'll talk about the political side later? You know, guilty or not, there's no question having him in the spotlight right now is a distraction. What is your?
Oh, there's no question it's a distraction for him as well. I mean, I would certainly not want to be in his shoes because of the scrutiny he's under. Being investigated by the FBI, that's not a walk in the park, that's not a picnic. The fact is, and I try to, let's assume for the sake of argument that he's done nothing wrong. And certainly at this point, there's certainly not been a conviction, there's not even been an indictment, there is an investigation. I think we have a different question. Obviously, if he were convicted of something, there's no question. He would have to step aside. The law would probably require it. If he were indicted, then there is reason for him to step aside, an even stronger reason for people to call for it. But an investigation alone, I mean, we still live in a society where you're innocent until proven guilty. I think we have to at least allow it to unfold to the next level, if indeed he is ultimately indicted. And I think we're all hoping and praying that that's not the case. I mean, I don't think we'd wish that on anybody. I certainly wouldn't wish that on somebody that I've known for 2 decades and consider a friend. And so I hope for his sake and his family's sake that he doesn't experience an indictment. But the fact is that, you know, he hasn't been indicted, that it is his decision. It's his choice to carry on. Yes, it does make it more challenging and more difficult. Yes, probably some of the credibility that we need in county government is lost during this period of investigation of Commissioner DeMora and of the auditor Frank Russo and of some other officials, including 1 or 2 judges. Yes, it's a very difficult environment in which to function. The one thing, though, about the Board of County Commissioners is it takes 2 votes to get anything done. So if people are nervous about, you know, Jimmy's continued participation in deliberations and decisions, it always does take a second vote. He cannot, by himself, make a decision on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners.
So it's your feeling, if there's an indictment, I mean, would you be supportive at that point? Would you be on board with calling for him to step aside?
I would have a private conversation with him at that point, and I would think during that conversation that's what I would urge. But I would want to have a private conversation with him first before I, you know, summon the media and say, hey, Jimmy should resign right now. I think he's entitled to that kind of consideration. And the other thing is, if he's indicted, he might very well decide himself, without any push or pull from anybody else, that it's in not just his best interest, but the community's best interest for him to step aside at that point.
What about his leadership as chairman of the Democratic Party for Cuyahoga County? Do you feel that, I mean, at this point, I mean, it's not an elected office per se. Do you feel that he's too much of a distraction? Maybe for political reasons, maybe it would be best that he step aside.
You know, that's a great question, but you got to look at the fact that we Democrats probably did as well as we have in the county races at any point just last November. And there were certainly efforts on the part of the Republicans to tie all of us who were running to Jimmy through one means or another.
But you wouldn't give Commissioner DeMora credit for.
You know, well, I guess what I'm saying is that the circumstances in which he currently finds himself certainly didn't help, but it didn't harm the county in its election effort. The only close race we lost was that of Jennifer Brady. Might there have been some influence there? That might have been the only negative fallout from Jimmy DeMora. And then again, that was a seat that has traditionally been held by Republicans anyway. And the Republican challenger who won election was a strong candidate and might have won anyway. So, this is the thing, at least the county right now, when you look at the day-to-day operations, those are being run now by a woman, Mary Devon, who was my assistant at my law firm for 5 or 6 years, who was one of my campaign coordinators. She is extremely effective in what she does. She knows how to operate the party. She's very conversant with the new tech that you have to have in place in order to be an effective political organization. She has great administrative skills. So in terms of the day-to-day, it's in good hands with Mary there.
What do you anticipate if Commissioner DeMora steps down as chair of the party, Chairman DeMora steps down? Cuyahoga County is so fractured. You've got groups on the southwest part of the county, the northwest, the east, the central part. Who fills the void? I mean, because it's an interesting question. There are a lot of people out there who say Commissioner should step aside as chair of the party, but nobody's got a clear answer as to who rises to the top to take his spot.
Well, that works out either of two ways, either with the battle between the various factions of the party. And when you talk about the factions, I think they were on full display 7 years ago when I defeated Pat O'Malley to become county commissioner. Now, I defeated him by about 61. I received 61% of the votes of the precinct committee persons. So it makes you wonder that there certainly is a group that you might view as less supportive of Jimmy, but they are a smaller fraction of the party. It would be very, I'd like to think when we look at the elections and who won in last fall, that perhaps that fissure, that gap that has existed traditionally in the party, that sometimes has been racially based, ethnically based, geographically, east side versus west, suburbs versus city. I think that those particular divisions have been smoothened over the years. But there could be an all-out war to see who happens, or it could be an orderly transition in which one side recognizes kind of the same kind of coalition that was put together when I was elected county commissioner by the precinct committee person. That same coalition could very well, I would think, determine who the next president or chair of the Democratic Party will be.